It's the start of the 18th century, and in Europe, the Industrial Revolution is booming. This historical period was a time of innovation, change, new thinking, and great success. But the non-industrialized countries, such as Africa, India, and China, received the dark side of this new technology and change. The effects of the Industrial Revolution on the non-industrialized world included a large supply of raw materials and a rich market for all of the excess European goods of the Industrial Revolution in Europe. The Industrial Revolution was a period from 1750 to 1850 where changes in agriculture, manufacturing, mining, transportation, and technology had a profound effect on the social, economic, and cultural conditions of the time. From its roots in Britain, this tidal wave of innovation would go on to spread throughout Western Europe and Northern America. This revolutionary movement was a major turning point in history because almost every aspect of life was changed. For instance, average income and population started to show a groundbreaking sustained growth. Robert E. Lucas Jr. once said, "For the first time in history, the living standards of the masses of ordinary people had begun to undergo sustained growth. Nothing remotely like this economic behavior has happened before." This transition from manual labor towards machine-based manufacturing started the mechanization of textile industry. The development of iron-making techniques and the increased use of coal, trade expansion, and population growth also helped push the Industrial Revolution along. But countries of the non-industrialized world like Africa, Asia, and Latin America suffered from lack of this new revolutionary technology. During the Industrial Revolution, Europe was in need of raw material. The non-industrialized countries fulfilled this gap with products of their own. Some of these products included palm oil, copper, rubber, cocoa, and gold that were needed to run their factories. This led to the major colonization of Africa. For instance, when rubber tires were invented, industrial countries needed rubber to make them. So they went to Congo, which was a large supplier of rubber, conquered it, and set up trading networks to guarantee the constant flow of rubber to Europe. Egypt was another non-industrialized country used to gain profit. When Muhammad Ali, the ruler of Egypt at the time, started to reform, he set up cotton mills and factories. His peasants grew cotton and wheat, which would be exported to Britain for a huge profit. Egyptian cotton was used to make sewing thread, yarn, and hosiery. Railroads were also set up along the countryside to get to these cotton mills. Towards the end of the 18th century, Britain gained control of India. British merchants controlled the trade between India and the rest of Asia. India also became a market for British textile goods, which destroyed India's own textile industry. India also became a major source of revenue for the British government. In Latin America, British were in ardent support of the movements and gained freedom from Spain and Portugal. Once free, these countries became markets for British goods and capital. While these countries remained politically separate for the British, they became economically dependent on them in the same way India had become. Latin America's village artisan economies were destroyed, and Latin America became a market for British finished goods. During the Industrial Revolution, Europeans made a lot of products, too much to sell only in Europe. So European countries also used non-industrialized countries like Africa to sell their goods for a high profit due to the lack of industries on the non-industrialized frontiers. They also used Africa to get soldiers, cheap labor, and new Christian converts. By doing this, it helped the Europeans economically, politically, and militarily. Europeans then looked towards India and Asia to strengthen their wealth and power. India was a non-industrialized country known for its beautiful textiles. India did not need to industrialize, but many countries like England set up trading posts throughout the country to control trade routes. Then British took over in 1857. They allowed the Indians to use railroads and telegraphs for trade, and instead of exporting textiles and manufactured goods, they traded raw materials like cotton to the British. They also grew opium, which the British would later use to start the Opium Wars with China. They occurred from 1839 to 1842 and from 1856 to 1860. Even though there were prohibition laws in China over opium, British traders still sold opium from India to the Chinese. The Chinese sent letters to the British begging to stop the harmful trade, but the letters never reached Queen Elizabeth in time, therefore plunging the Chinese and British in the war. Due to military and naval advantages, the British were the victors, and as a result, the Chinese had to create a British embassy, allow British missionaries to travel throughout the country, and pay Britain and France 3 million and 2 million ounces of silver, respectively. The Industrial Revolution negatively impacted most of the non-industrialized world. Egypt, India, and China each lost much of their power, influence, and wealth due to the machines of the Europe and the Industrial Revolution.
You say you want a revolution.